and I would really appreciate it if you would stop Rob Taylor from blathering on and on.
Opinions expressed by talk show hosts, callers, or guests on the Rob Taylor Report do not necessarily represent the opinions of the hosting platform, subsidiaries, sponsors, or possibly anyone else on the planet or the known universe. From the tinfoil and lead-lined broadcast bunker on the beautiful southern coast of Oregon, it's the Rob Taylor Report. So strap yourself in. Your weekly political therapy session is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the nearly famous Rob Taylor.
Hey, Coos County. Hey, Oregon. America and beyond. East Coast, West Coast. I want to thank you all for joining me. And I've got to quickly go to my sponsor who has just jumped on the air. We're going to talk to him, Matt Holman. Matt, how you doing, man? Can you hear me? Hello? Matt, are you on the air? Your microphone or something's not working. I don't know. Is he going to lose it? Can you hear me, Matt?
Let's try that, Rob.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
A lot better. That's way better.
You're all
man.
quiet. I can't. I see your lips moving, but I don't hear nothing coming out.
Well, I'm talking and my mic's on. So
Probably me.
If you can't hear me, I don't know. I'm just going to have to take you off the air, okay? Can you hear me now? All right, I'm going to have to pull you off, man. I don't know what's going on. Can you hear me now? I don't know. Matt.
I don't know, Rob. One of these days we'll get this thing to work right.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you later, man. All right. And we've started Where's 3H Tree Service. If you want to play today's round of Where's 3H Tree Service, it started earlier today. Matt's in Lakeside somewhere. And if you want to go find him, I highly recommend it because you get $50. But remember, we do have some rules. Crazy. I know. Even though we're libertarian kind of like people, we do have rules. And people who are ineligible to win the prize include family employees of 3H Tree Service, anyone involved with hiring or contracting with 3H Tree Service, anyone who is a known criminal in Coos County or Oregon, because we don't want to supply your money for your fentanyl habit, and anyone who has won a round of Where's 3H Tree Service in the last 30 days. If you don't fit into any of those categories, you're qualified to win. If you're living in Coos County, I already told you they're over in Lakeside. Go get your money. Go get your money because we're playing Where's 3H Tree Service. Now, I have been doing radio and been an activist for a long damn time. And I'll tell you what, there is someone who has had an organization, the American Policy Center. I've been following that organization for more than 30 years. Yes, I'm an old guy and it's been happening a long time, but I've been following this. This organization has been around since 1984. I don't think I go back as far as 1984, but I know for the last 30 years, going back to even when I lived in New Mexico, I was a big property rights advocate. And the gentleman that I'm going to have on the show from the American Policy Center is also a big property rights activist. Before I get him on, I'm going to see if I'm pulling Matt back on. Hey, Matt, how about now? Can you hear me?
Excellent, Rob. I can hear you excellent.
You got to plug those things in. That's the problem.
Charge them once in a while. I don't know.
So are you still out in Lakeside, man?
We're still in Lakeside. We got an hour left or so before we head back to Coos Bay. So if you're out in Lakeside, come find us.
I was checking out that video of you way up in a tree. That looked a little delicate. You were pretty close to that house, weren't you?
Yeah, there's a house and a fence and a camp trailer, and yeah, it's a pretty tight spot. But those bucket trucks sure make that handy. I could climb, but man, if I can get a bucket to it, I'd sure prefer to do that. It makes it easier on everybody.
Well, and I couldn't really see if you were in a bucket truck or not. I wasn't sure whether that was part of the bucket truck, the part that you see in the video. And I was wondering if you climbed that because I couldn't see where you could have gotten to that tree in the bucket truck because there was like a fence, a house, a bush. That was impressive.
These people are awesome. They got big old gates, like 12-foot gates on both sides of their house. We don't always get that luxury, but man, they do here, and it made it super handy.
Cool. All right. Well, I've just announced the game. I've put the sign up. Today's round of Where's 3H Tree Service has already started. You've been playing it all day, but no one's won. So I let them know that they can go out to Lakeside. Okay.
Yep. We're here. We'll be here for another hour or so. So come find us in the next hour, and you'll get your $50.
Cool. All right.
Thanks,
man.
Rob.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. And so as I was introducing him and Matt came back because of those technical problems, we always seem to have those technical problems. I want to introduce the man, the myth, Tom DeWeese from the American Policy Center. Tom, how you doing?
Hey, Rob, I'm doing great. I'm busy as I can be, but I'm doing great.
That's a good thing because we need people like you to be busy because you're up against a formidable enemy. That enemy is the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, ICLEI, which is part of the United Nations, part of Agenda 20, which is now Agenda 2030. And you have been doing this a long time. Tell me how, over the last, since 1984, how has your center, how has it evolved and what has changed about it in the last, wouldn't that be like 40 years now?
Pretty close. Pretty close. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's, we started out on a lot of different issues. We worked on education issues. We worked on national security, the surveillance society, all those kinds of issues. And I kept seeing these environmental issues come up, the Sierra Club, the Nature Conservancy. And ironically, as I looked at these policies, I want to help the earth. I don't want to, destroy the earth. But I kept asking the question, what about the property rights of the people involved in that? That was a question that kept coming to mind. And then as I started to study it and really get into it and see what it was really about, then I understood. And what I have learned, sustainable development is the code word, basically the tripwire to get people to voluntarily give up their liberties. And, sustainable. What I've learned over those 40 years is that they cannot impose sustainable development policies without destroying private property. So what I do and what I've been doing the last several years is advocating, working with people on the local level, helping them organize in their city councils, county commissions, and getting them to start pushing for property rights protection legislation language to do that. So as they're trying to put all these policies in place, you keep asking that question, what about the property rights? So that's it in a nutshell, I guess.
And that's really what the American government was designed to do, protect private property. That was the major function, put aside the roads, put aside even the military, because if you don't have private property, really, what is the military for but protecting the rights of the oligarchy or the authority of the oligarchy if it's not protecting the property rights of individuals. And that's why I was huge into the American Policy Center going back many, many years, because as a conservative, libertarian-minded person, I've always believed that sustainability was basically the bulwark against private property. You know what I mean? It was not even the bulwark. It was the bulldozer. Let's change that word. It was the bulldozer against property rights. And now it's to the point where I'm arguing with Republican senators in Oregon who want to fit sustainability in every bill they create. It's so funny. Everything now is sustainability this, sustainability that. And I always tell people sustainability, if in government terms, means the amount of time it takes for people to realize the government project that they just paid all that money for is a boondoggle. That's sustainability to me. I don't, I'm sure you've got another definition, but that's literally what it is. It's a con job, just like many things, and you're using the environment as the because they got to get your confidence. That's where a con job comes from. You get your confidence, and they've got to be able to fool the people that they have a good heart and that they're trying to protect the environment. So sustainability is the death knell of private property rights.
Absolutely, and the when we started talking about Agenda 21 in the beginning, and the UN and the people behind it were promoting these 3 connecting circles. They said the ruling principle of sustainable development, and those 3 connecting circles were economic prosperity, social equity, and ecological integrity. That is everything in our society, everything in our lives. It's our economy, it's our environment, but it's also, what are you hearing everywhere today? Social equity. Yes. And I'll tell you something, Rob. When I started doing this in the beginning, I knew that one of the main tenets of the whole Agenda 21 plan was reduction of the population. I mean, in drastic terms. But I didn't talk about it much over all those years because I was having enough trouble getting people to understand the threat to their property and other parts of their lives. I thought if I started telling them that they plan to wipe out 6 or 7 billion people, then I would lose everybody instantly. And so I didn't talk about it. It's become the center of what they're talking about now, and getting rid of it. And they literally have agreed, the United Nations agreed that as a compromise, that 1 billion that'd be sustainable. We have that.
Yes.
And yeah.
They, and you don't even have to, you don't even have to say it, even though you should, because you're really good at explaining this stuff. But you don't have to say it because Bill Gates is saying it. The United Nations has put it into policy and play. And the World Economic Forum, you go back and listen to their tapes, they talk about eradicating the invasive species, which is us, the humans now. We are, for some reason, we're not part of nature. We're somehow this invasive species. I don't know how we got here. Maybe we were seeded by Martians or something, but it seems like they think we're foreign, domain here that somehow got put on this planet, but we are just as much as this planet as any animal or plant. And it just blows my mind that they would want to get rid of 1 billion of us. And that's just a start, because that's just where they're supposed to.
Yeah. And what's amazing about it is it's people who are saying this.
Yeah.
And I have jokingly said to environmentalists over the years, you get in line first, we'll follow you.
Right.
You're going to go through the chopping block. But, and when you're looking at a massive assault on our food supply, our ability to feed us. And one of the interesting things here, we're dealing with today is this whole drive to switch to electric vehicles. And, we've got millions of gas-powered cars. And, if you're looking at it, that trying to transfer every automobile from gas-powered to electric. I mean, this massive number, the huge amount of digging they have to do, and they're going to create Grand Canyons all over the place. And how are we going to charge all that? Well, the truth of the matter is, they do not expect, it is not part of their intention to have all of our gas-powered cars replaced. We have policies now being put in place where people won't be allowed in certain areas to own a private car. and have to use public transportation and bicycles. So that's, that really starts to set the thing. If people begin to understand that, why are they cutting back on the food supply? They don't expect to have this many people that we need to feed. What about the electric cars? We don't expect to have all the people having an electric car. So you begin to get it perspective that way from all their gibberish and their doublespeak that they give. This is what it really boils down to. And if you look at the 17 goals of Agenda 2030, what they're talking about here, just a few of them here, they talk about gender equality and a decent work and economic growth and reduce inequalities and on and on and on. Control life below the water, control life on land. These are all these 17 goals that are all part of that. And and a global partnership for sustainable development. So this is what we're dealing with when they talk about that. It has nothing to do with protecting the environment. This is what we have begun to really try to emphasize with people. As you look at all of these environmental policies, you can take almost every one that they're promoting, and I can argue to you that it would do more damage to the environment than anything man has ever done in the past. And this is the what we're looking at here, the wind and solar. What are we dealing with here? They tell us that we need to recycle and not throw anything in the trash. They've got to keep using things over and over again. Wind and solar, the panels and the blades, which are not biodegradable, they wear out, need to be replaced about every 5 or 6 years. You got millions of them. What are you going to do with them? What landfill are you filling with them? These are monster-sized blades. And underneath the solar panels, what's growing? Nothing. And Bill Gates wants to put a layer over the earth to block out the sun. First question I have is, if you block out the sun, what are the solar panels going to do? The second thing is, everything on Earth, everything alive on Earth needs the sun. So you're going to block it out. This is destroying the environment, not saving it. And the goal here, people have got to learn these facts. We have got to stand up and stop these maniacs from completely destroying our society and our way of life.
And you use the word maniac, and that is absolutely appropriate because, like you said, they are trying to kill a billion people or more, literally kill them. They're not lying. And eventually, and like you said, they never, they tell you they have these goals, but in the details, they kind of get lost in the wind. They never really tell you how they're going to, what will they do, but not in a way that is very pleasant, because they're going to have to starve a bunch of us. A bunch of us are going to have to starve to death. A bunch of us are going to have to find out that food and water is going to become so expensive and so scarce through man-made intentions, because water isn't scarce on this planet. 2/3 of the planet is water. And yet I hear all the time, we're reaching a water crisis. And that was something that you were talking about in that article about the Chinese threat and the way they're using solar and wind to try to manipulate our food chains down to the basic need of water.
Yeah, they keep talking about water shortages. And of course, up in Klamath Falls, they're tearing down the dams there. This is what is supplied, and for decades has supplied the water supply to the farmers, to the people living there. And now they're taking the dams down, and that is going to really diminish the amount of water supply people have to work with. Not to mention that it also created hydroelectric, and so there's another supply of electricity gone. And what we are getting into in all of the wind and solar, they produce about 12% of the energy that we need. And if you have a great hailstorm, if you have a tornado, something that tears all this down, what are you going to do? You've got no alternative. And it doesn't work. It doesn't create it. And I've heard one of the things I was told by an expert on this is because in the wintertime and where it snows a lot, the solar panels are covered with snow. What do you do about that? Well, they want to add a little electric heater to every panel, and the panel will create the electricity to run that. The truth of the matter is that little electrical heater will probably use up all of the electricity that panel creates every day. So
they'll put a gas powered generator at the end of the line of where all those solar panels are to run the heater. I guess that's
maybe so. But I heard they were going to connect it to the panel and somehow use it the electricity it creates. But either way,
nuts. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Yes. And you and I, like I said, we've been in this game for a long time. You much longer than I have, but we've been saying this for a long time, and yet it doesn't seem to be ending. It's growing and morphing to the point where you don't even know which way the threat's going to be coming at you. And here in Oregon, we just, they just decided to do several different projects here, these windmill projects. I just put it up on the screen, and they've already got the proposals out for the leases. And so they're waiting for several different companies. There's like 3 or 4 companies who are going to purchase the leases to create windmills. You're going to love this. These are floating windmills, 2,000 or 3,000 feet high, with football field size wing spans, spinning around in the ocean, creating its own wake, killing birds, probably destroying mammals, probably destroying our ability to communicate with boats and planes, and all the other habitat that's in the ocean. It's going to be affecting, and yet nobody seems to care, Tom. Nobody.
No, they don't understand. And they just think they keep hearing it's to save the planet. And, you say sustainable. And as I said earlier, this became a trigger word to get us to voluntarily give up our liberties. And I've had environmentalists get in my face and say, it doesn't matter how many rights you think you have if you don't have a planet to stand on. There's the scare tactic. The fear factor they use is environmental Armageddon. And this is what we have to stop. We've got to save the planet. And so people, they just, their eyes just glaze over, and they follow. I must do what they tell me to do. And that's really why you get that kind of reaction. I'm working with a group called CFAC, Committee for Constructive Tomorrow, who is really working hard to stop these offshore wind farms that they want to put in place. And Craig Rucker, the president, was in Oregon just a few weeks back, and they sent a report to the what's it called, BOEM, that is in charge of this, and telling them that these wind towers, you're talking these floating wind towers, these are a prospective thing. They don't exist yet, and what they're going to need to do to put these giant things, we're talking about 18 to 32 miles off the coast, 219,000 acres offshore, out there. I mean, come on, this is. I think you're right that they're out of sight. But he talks about the massive cost, first of all, that this will be. It's way beyond anything we've ever had to pay for energy to do this, and then these monster towers. Think about these monster towers that are higher than the Empire State Building in some cases. Yep. And as you said, there's big wingspans, or the wingspans, and they have to have a massive anchor underneath the floating platform. And there's just all kinds of details of the weight and the monster size here. And a big windstorm, a tornado, something comes through. And how are they going to stand up? They're not. They don't have a single bit of scientific evidence to prove that they would. And this is just a total boondoggle, and their information is completely mistaken. They have nothing to back it up. They've never done it before, but they're going to do it to Oregon.
We have recently found an environmental impact study they did somewhere. And they actually are admitting in this study that it will affect wildlife, birds, mammals, fish. There's no doubt about it anymore. They've got this in this study, and I was going to send it off to Craig Rucker and you, and I don't know what happened. I forgot, but I thought this was very important and very telling, because we asked them about an environmental impact study, because you kind of got to use their own rules against them. And that's one of the first things you got to do, is start putting up all these regulations that have been set aside, so you can use those regulations to determine whether these projects are viable or not. And of course, we asked for an impact environment study on both of these projects, the one up in Reedsport and Coos Bay and the one down in Brookings there, you can see on the screen. And they said, we'll do one after we get the leases done, after they start the project.
After they've got control. Yeah.
After they got control.
Yeah. That, and they've already discovered that these do affect the sea life there. We have found here on the East Coast, here in Virginia, where I am, Virginia Beach, so forth, we have found that whales are starting to come on, die, wash ashore. And they keep saying, well, those whales have moved away now. We don't have them here. And then we find out through another study that there are whole, bodies of them there. And but they just kind of pretend like, well, they're not here, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. Because the rules say if it's going to affect the whale population, then they can't do something. Well, it's not here anymore. And they're also finding, fishermen are finding, as they have these wind towers out there in the offshore, that where they used to fish all the time, the fish have left. The buzzing of the towers and so forth apparently affects them, and they can't be there. What we're finding, as I said earlier, almost every single program that they promote as protecting the environment is damaging to the environment. And here, these are prime examples. Here is one. I have a scientific expert who has sent me a couple of different reports on this, and I just got this yesterday, that he's already sent me reports talking about how the materials that the solar panels are made from, when you picture when all the other energy sources are gone, and you've got millions and millions and millions of acres of these solar farms, and the panels are made of this plastic, this fiberglass, that creates warming. And so the solar farms are going to create warming. And then the wind towers, what they do, the solar and wind completely change the atmosphere of the area. Just think about that. They have to cut down millions of trees to make room for all of this. Remember when we used to call them tree huggers?
Yeah.
The hypocrisy of the environmental movement is beyond belief. And now we're finding out, he says in this most recent report that I got, because of the way it adjusts the atmosphere and so forth, by putting them in place, solar farms, and wind towers are part of this, will become thunderstorm and tornado incubators and magnets. We're hearing now that we're having massive storms across the country. And of course, the environmentalists have used this excuse for decades, that when climate change gets in place, we're going to have massive storms and so forth. Well, we find out with true science that those storms are being created now by their policies being the solar and wind put in place. So this is the insanity that we're dealing with.
And I don't know if you've been out much to the Northwest. This is one of the stormiest damn places that I've ever lived. I'm from the Southwest, where it's 90% sun all the time. And here it rains a lot. It storms a lot. So I cannot imagine what these things are going to do, being just 18 miles or 32 miles off the coast, what they're going to do to the atmosphere to create more storms, to create more lightning, and how much of that is going to affect what's on shore here, because we already get, and now, we get storms all the time. We get, 40, 50, 60 mile per hour winds, sometimes almost for weeks on end. And I just don't see how the windmills themselves are going to be able to withstand what's in the sea already. There's no way. It's just
They're
not
not.
even possible.
Totally agree with you. They're not going to be able to do that. And the floating ones are even more ridiculous.
Yeah.
We'll just start calling them Titanic, I guess. And
No kidding. Well, and we keep asking them because there's a part 2 to this project. Okay, building the windmills, that's the one, putting them out in the ocean, and they're creating all this waste. But then they have to bring the energy to shore. And then when they get it to shore, they got to transmit it to wherever they're going. Right now, we're not too sure where they're going. We believe they're going to sell most of this to California, which is kind of ironic. California has the largest coastline on the West Coast, but for some reason, they need to steal some of Oregon's coastline to give them that whole 3 gigawatts of energy that array is going to produce. 3 gigawatts. I think in California, they use like 1 million gigawatts, to light up California. And we're going to be providing them 3 gigawatts, and that's going to have to be transmitted through property here in Oregon. And that only means one thing: eminent domain. It's going to be like the pipeline. And they're not even talking about that. They refuse to even talk about that because they said, well, we don't know what the leasing project's going to be. We don't know what the companies are going to do. So until we have that in line, the best answer we can tell you is that most of these transmitting stations will be located at the ports, the Port of Coos Bay and the Port of Brookings. And then from there, they will somehow transmit that power. But if you look at what's going on in West Texas with the wind power there, wind energy through subsidy is really low. The energy for West Texans is really low, but they can't transmit it to the rest of the state because they don't have the infrastructure to do that. And so they're still subsidizing most of the project in West Texas. And that's what's going to happen here. And not only that, they have told the companies don't have to worry about a loss because they can't lose any money on this project because we are protecting them from any financial liability. I don't know if you saw that in the project.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you look at it, you're trying to be logical. They haven't thought any of this through. But they've got money. The infrastructure bill from Biden last year has billions and billions of dollars for these kinds of projects, and they're just taking the money. We're just going to do it. And we have the situation in these cases, these private corporations that are putting together private operations, and they want to take private land to do it. Well, that's totally unconstitutional.
Right.
And I'll tell you, I was in Iowa about a year and a half ago. The whole issue of the carbon capture pipelines, which I have said are the most idiotic of all the environmental issues I've ever heard. Now, floating wind towers may over supersede that, but this is incredible. And we have a CO2 shortage. CO2 is not a pollutant, and there you had county commissioners who were opposed to this happening. And I was calling on them to pass legislation to protect private land, protect private property. And I was getting this stuff from them. Well, the Iowa Utilities Board says that we have to do this. They're going to grant these private corporations the power of eminent domain. And I said, you were elected to protect the people who put you in office, protect their rights. These appointed boards represent no one. Appointed boards are created by elected officials to be the bureaucracy to get done the projects they want to do. They don't have the right to make rules. They don't have the right to take somebody's land and do all that. And I told them, I said, you hide behind this, you are absolute cowards. You know what? That had an effect. And a lot of them started to stand up, but we still have the state legislatures. You have the governors of South Dakota, North Dakota, and Iowa, and so forth, that are helping to put this stuff in place and not standing up against it. And this is what we get across the country: is that what people need to realize about their elected officials, so forth. You elect a good guy, you think, hey, they're good, they're going to do a great job, and then you're surprised when they don't. There are in this world 20,000 non-governmental organizations: the Nature Conservancy, the Audubon Society, the ICLEI, on and on and on. Sierra Club, and lots of little ones as well. Every single one of these programs that we are talking about and what's happening in your community, whether it's bike lanes or building codes or whatever, every one of those has an NGO behind it. They are trained. They know exactly how to write it up and have it and present it to your elected officials, and they know exactly what federal grant to go for, because most of them help write those federal grants. They put their own agendas into those grants. So you take your city councilman, take a grant, and maybe they got it to, maybe you have infrastructure under Main Street, wires and pipes and so forth, that 100 years old, they need to be upgraded. That's a legitimate thing that needs to be done by government.
Right.
But the grant comes in and it says, well, you've got to put roundabouts in every intersection in town. You got to use this kind of building materials and everything. That's in the grant. To comply to it, you've got to do it. This is the way that they are putting these policies in place, step by step by step. And so, this is why all of a sudden your elected officials quit talking to you. You're going to hear them say, well, this is just the way it's done. This is how everybody's doing it. And that's all they're hearing. The bottom line to it all is, and those of us who are opposed to these kind of programs, for the biggest part, are not there. And if one of us happens to wander into city council and try to say something about it, they're just shut down immediately. We don't hear about it. The NGOs surround your elected officials 24 hours a day. They are supplying them the grant money, they're supplying them the program, and they're giving them help in getting reelected, or they're giving them pressure if they don't play ball with them. And you have to understand this. This is the way our country is being run right now. And the only way that we're going to stop it is to stand up against it and have your elected officials feel pressure from our side.
We are very lucky here in Coos County, even though most people think Oregon, oh, well, those crazy Oregonians. Well, no, we keep those people in Portland or in Eugene. And out here where I live, out here in rural Oregon, we still have, 58% of the people voted for Donald Trump in my county. So that tells you where we're at. And so we stay on top of our county commissioners, and we really push them when they ask for this grant money. We go through this grant money, the terms of it with a fine-tooth comb, because not only are they pushing sustainability, not only are they pushing about smart development, but they're pushing critical race theory, and they're pushing diversity, equity, and inclusion, which, in certain ways has nothing to do with attacking your property rights, except diversity, equity, inclusion. Equity is all about property rights, and they've got a term for it. They call everyone now a stakeholder, and we're all stakeholders. If you have money in a business, you were a shareholder, and that's how we used to run business. But now when they talk about society, or as they call it, the community. I call it society. They always call it the community because they want to pull you into whatever community they're creating. And when they talk about this equity, what they're those stakeholders. I always say that there are stake payers. Those of us who produce are the stake payers. Then there's the stake takers. Those are the ones who get all the benefits and don't produce anything. And of course, then there's the stake makers, the ones who come up with the policies to screw us over in the first place. So when they talk about stakeholders, I always have to remind the county commissioners, well, we're not all equal in that term, because that's part of the equity to make us all somehow equal. Homelessness is a good example of this. I'm a stakeholder in homelessness, where I'm paying all the taxes, but the guy who's living off of drugs and committing crimes in the street, he's also a stakeholder. And so these are those types of terms where they pull you into that community, and we all are supposed to feel warm and fuzzy about the sustainable development that's going to be equitable for everyone, which means we're all going to be equally poor.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, go a little more in the stakeholder thing. One of the main things, if you're looking at the minutes of your city council talking and so forth, they'll talk about, well, we met with the stakeholders. They are referring in most cases to the NGOs. And most of those NGO groups aren't even from your town. They're not stakeholders. They're carpetbaggers. And these are some of the things we have to do to fight back on this, is reveal these things, to get names and show people who's involved. And if you've got you're lucky with your community, believe me. But if you've got a community where you've got your city councilman or mayor playing games with these guys, you need to say so. We need to quit being polite. And I saw a map the other day that I thought was interesting. We always talk about the red and blue states. And this map showed 90% of the country is red, but you have the cities, the blue cities, the Chicagos and the Houstons and the Los Angeles and Washington, D.C. and all that. And I thought that was really interesting, because one of the things, the big policies that they're pushing to put all this in place is what they call smart growth. And it's the idea is to move people off the rural areas into the cities. The cities are the root of putting all this together, because there's so many people there, and they're just controlled by the government. They're controlling every action they take. They're controlling their food supply. They're controlling we're changing the highway systems, the transportation systems, all of that. And people in the rural areas, they can grow their own food. They can be much more independent. We can't have that. That's going to mess up the whole plan. We need to get everybody into the cities. And there you have what's blue in this country, the cities.
Right. And literally that's what they want to do to us in rural Oregon. You can just tell by the state policies they want to eliminate. They're making it more and more expensive for us to live in rural Oregon. They're making it almost impossible to be a farmer or a rancher out here. Mm-hmm. And we keep looking at them in Portland or Eugene going, do you not know where your food comes from? Do you not know where your fish and
Safeway's down the street?
Yeah. It's in the package. That's where it came from.
That's right.
And these people are not the most intelligent people, but they're the ones who are rioting in the streets right now. I mean, in 2020, it was Black Lives Matter, and they were very anti-cop and anti-law enforcement. Now, of course, it's the horrible, horrible idea of kill the Jews, and they're literally screaming that in the streets of Portland. I haven't been up there in a couple of months, but I've been up there during the riots of 2020, and I've seen many of the other riots that have gone on up there, and it's just absolute insanity. But this was interesting. I had a gentleman on, I had him on Friday night, and we were talking about something that I've never heard before. It was a term that I haven't heard before, but they were using it at the meeting for the windmills. And I'm going to put it up on screen here. And it's they're called the National Policy Consensus Center. And this is out of the Portland State University. Have you heard of one of these consensus centers?
Yeah. That's, this is a major, subject on this consensus and all this. Everybody agrees. And, we have consensus meetings, and, most of the time, the only people at the meetings are these NGOs. If a few of our people show up, they have a guy who, is trained in psychology to run the meetings. And he knows exactly how to lead people to a specific place. Now, you may have 10 or 15 or 20 people in one of these meetings, but when they come to the end and everybody has agreed with what they want to do because they've been led there, the community has decided. We have consensus.
Yes.
This is how they operate. Yeah.
And I'm often the lone guy standing there going, no, this is all wrong. I haven't agreed with anything you're saying. And I try to point it out that we're not in agreement, that you gave me a bunch of bounded choices that I didn't even participate in. And somehow you're telling me I agree. And I get into arguments. You always know the guy who's there. He's always in a suit that's much too more expensive than what he should be in. And he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, or woman. And in the windmill thing, it was a woman. And so they were talking about this. We all got to come to a consensus. And I kept saying, well, no, because you people are for the windmill project. those of us here, the majority of us, are against the windmill project, and there never will be consensus on this. What you're trying to get us to do is have consensus on the policy that they were trying to get us to go along with. You have to, it was the Oregon Department of Land Conservation, and they have a policy where they call it enforceable policies that you are derived from what they call Goal 19. Was it Goal 19? I think it was called Goal 19. It's a state goal of, sustainability, protecting the environment, protecting the culture, protecting the oppressed people, protecting the economy. But they don't seem to. Once again, we don't have a consensus on how to do all that stuff. But it was just amazing that this is what kept popping up. And I'd never even heard of a National Policy Consensus Center. And you know what? This isn't even an NGO. This is actually a government agency.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you handled it just right. I mean, that's what you do. You stand up and let them. Usually what they'll do when they find somebody who's not agreeing with them, they'll keep asking questions, and eventually they'll say, even Rob could understand this, some detail like that. But if you look through that website you had up there, you look at projects and what they believe in and so forth, you dig down in there, you're going to find sustainable development. You're going to find
it was all over it. Yeah. We with the gentleman that I had on Friday night, and in fact, the reason I had him on because it tied in with everything that you've been working on and taking on yourself. We went through that whole entire website, and I mean, he just laid it out, the Agenda 21 stuff, the climate change, all the keywords, sustainability, of course, the smart cities. And it's just unbelievable how once you start dissecting it, it's really easy. You know what I mean? It's really easy to see this stuff. Yeah. And that's why you're so important, and all the rest of us who are doing this are so important, because we're laying out the terminology and definitions that people can understand it without this fuzzy rationality that they're trying to put on all these explanations.
Yeah. Before we run out of time, I'd like to, this article that I did just this last week on how all this really came about in the communities. I mean, this was key. People ask, how did this come to my community? And is that okay? I go into that a little bit?
Please do. Yes.
Yeah. I wrote an article. It's on our website at AmericanPolicy.org called Thinking Globally, Acting Locally, How Sustainable Rule Took Over Your City. And this goes back to 2005. There was a meeting in San Francisco by the United Nations, and they brought in mayors from all over the country. The idea was to target mayors, to list them to be their soldiers in the sustainable war. And they had, all the usual UN bureaucrats were there who would end up with more power if they, put all this in place. The NGOs, as we talked about, in their private agendas. You had, at that time, UN Secretary General was Kofi Annan. And he was joined with San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown and Senator Dianne Feinstein. And you even had Robert Redford and Martin Sheen there. And, these guys, they, the NGOs, ICLEI, Natural Resources Defense Council, you had corporations like Federal Express and Toyota, different ones. And what they were there to do was present some very specific documents to these mayors to sign on to. The first one was called the Green Cities Declaration. And this is what one of the things it said in there, asking them, the mayor's assigned task. Believing as mayors of cities around the globe, we have a unique opportunity to provide leadership to develop truly sustainable urban centers based on culturally and economically appropriate local actions. And then it went on to say, signatory cities shall work to implement the following urban environment accords. Each year, cities shall pick 3 actions to adopt as policies or laws. Each year, they're going to pick 3 things to put sustainable stuff in place. The Urban Environment Accords had 21 specific actions laid out. Let me just give you a couple of them here. The let's see, it said under the topic of energy, action item number 1 called for mayors to implement a policy to increase the use of renewable energy by 10% within 7 years. So this is wind turbines and solar panels and so forth, that they're going to put all of this in place. So it's they signed on to that. Then water policy. This was interesting. They talked about they were going to reduce consumption of water by 10% by 2020. Now they said in this thing, in the document, they used 100 liters. And that, that would be like 23 gallons or something. Right. So it's not a big deal. But according to the U.S. Geological Survey, Americans, to actually do all the things we do every day, washing and cleaning our clothes and drinking and everything we need for water, we need 100 gallons per day as our basic needs. So this was just kind of how they twist words around and so forth. But here's the biggie. It went on to say, quote, every year identify 3 products, chemicals or compounds that are used within your city that represents the greatest risk to human health, and adopt a law to eliminate their sale and use in the city. Every year your mayor is going to ban something. This is unbelievable.
Nice. Now, that's not. What happened to the free market? Why does a mayor get to decide what the hell to ban? I mean, it's how arbitrary. I mean, they're just putting out there, you got to ban something. We're not even going to tell you what it is. You figure it out. Leaf blowers this year, lawn mowers next year, whatever.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. What the mayor gets are green stars.
Oh boy.
If he succeeds in that year of completing 8 to 11 of the prescribed 21 actions, he gets a green star, and the city gets the designation of a local sustainable city. 12 to 17, he gets to be he gets 2 green stars and a national sustainable city designation. 15 to 18. Actions completed, he gets 3 green stars and the title Regional Sustainable City. And that Energizer Bunny, who gets all 19 to 21 of them, gets 4 full green stars and a Global Sustainable City. And he gets to have a pat on the back, his name on all things, and on and on. So
I wonder, do those stars stick to anything? Can they stick them on the refrigerator? Like how you give little kids little stickers when they do something good? Yeah,
I think mainly what he gets is a sign outside of the community saying this is a global sustainable city, whatever. Look what I did. Well, what was interesting, I wrote that several years ago, and this is about 2005. And so I did a research to see where things stand now. And this is what I found as I went through it. We have a thing now called C40 cities. There's a climate leadership group, C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group. The goal of this group is 0 meat and dairy consumption by 2030, 0 private vehicles owned by citizens, and only 1 short-haul air flight per person every 3 years, and 3 new clothing items per person per year. 100 cities across the world are members of this. And there are 15 American cities that are part of this. And that includes Portland and, obviously the usual Chicago, Houston, these guys. And, the other thing that we have here are they call it the circular economy and circular cities. This is exactly the Green Cities Declaration from 2005. And it is the main force promoting this is the World Economic Forum. And number 1 is, if circular economy is put in place, this is the drive to get rid of cash money and go to digital currency. This is so all those things that happened in 2005, this is how it's coming about. And once they get that digital currency, they will control every single action. If you aren't a good little sustainable citizen, then your car is going to be shut off, your power is going to be shut off, your ability to buy anything, and your money is going to be confiscated. This is where we're headed. This is what it's all about. And this is why I've spent my life trying to stop it.
And thank goodness you're doing it, because a lot of people are starting to wake up. And I think since 2020, I would say 2020 was the year people like us got vindicated. I think that there were so many people who finally woke up and said, the government's not doing what's in our best interest. And now we look at what happened in 2020, the forced vaccines, the shutdown, the mask mandates, these social distancing, the locking up the elderly, all of that was wrong. Everything we did, every government policy that happened was completely wrong, and they're still getting it wrong. But slowly the truth is coming out. I think the Ninth Circuit Court just came out and said that the COVID vaccine really isn't a vaccine, it's a treatment. And that was a huge, this is the Ninth Circuit Court. This is the same one that made the decision that allows homeless people to sleep wherever the hell they want, and the cities can't do anything about it unless they provide them a home.
Yeah. And what we're starting to hear, you're going to hear more of this, is a climate change pandemic, that we have a crisis of climate change, and we've got to stop it. And they are using the exact plan of the COVID lockdown. And that was a trial run. Now, those of us, with the black helicopters and the tinfoil hats, are saying that was a trial run, and I stand by it, because that's exactly what it was. And they learned just how gullible people will be to allow themselves to lose their liberties because of a self-described pandemic crisis. And people say, oh, okay, whatever. And now we're finding out it was all a lie. And so is the climate change pandemic.
Right.
That's, do not fall for that. Stand up and say no.
And with what you just discussed with the windmills and with the solar panels, and how it's going to destroy a good swath of property, especially agriculture, ranches, farmers, and what you said about the windmills and them creating storms, this is another one of those conspiracies that I'm starting to believe a lot more in the last couple of years. And this is geoengineering. This is geoengineering, where they're creating the types of storms. And we know, they did it in Vietnam. They did it in Vietnam, where they tried to make it rain in certain areas and storms so that they could hold battles or not hold battles. And we know mosquitoes have been used to, that's biological engineering, where they've tried to use mosquitoes against their enemies and stuff. And I tell people this, and of course they think, oh, Rob, you're just absolutely crazy. But, now I'm starting to believe more in the chemtrail people. I'm starting to think maybe they have it right. Maybe there is a conscious effort by the government, and we've already discussed this, to eliminate the population through geoengineering, bioengineering, and social engineering, all of them coming together.
Well, I don't know. You can watch what's going on in the sky. You can see the checkerboard up there. That's not contrails. Contrails disappear very rapidly after they are exited from the jet. This is something you can sit there, and when I've done this, you can watch one of these jets fly over with their trail behind them, and you might have a beautiful, sunny, blue sky day, and within minutes, it starts to turn gunmetal gray. And you can see this happen. But somebody who disputes this and says that can't be possible, what did we say earlier here in our discussion about Bill Gates wanting to put the level over the entire earth to block out the sun? What is that, if that isn't the same thing? They're openly admitting that they've got that ability to do it. And I have seen reports from companies that say they have contracts to do this. I've seen pictures of the airplanes and so forth. So, they've called me a liar for 40 years, so I won't change now.
Yeah, well now, yeah, that's they used to just call us crazy. Now they call us fascist and racist and haters,
They
and
want
it's
to arrest
amazing.
us for this.
Want to
Yeah.
arrest us, and a lot
Yeah.
of well, Trump's showing them now how true that is too.
Yeah.
Tom, I want to appreciate you coming on the show. You did such a wonderful thing. Before I get you out of here, is there anything you want to tell the listeners before you go?
The only thing I want to say is what we're working on and working with people locally. I call it building a freedom pod in your own community. And if you go on our website at americanpolicy.org, you'll see the section there on freedom pods. And I sure would like if people would want to get involved in their own community, how to build this. People are intimidated to try to do things they've never done before. We're working to try to help them get started, get things done. We're creating tools. I have a manual now called the Local Activist Handbook that has all the information in it, a lot of background as well as how to organize, and you can get that on there at the website. So this is, I want to help people fight back. And if you want to do that, you go in the website and you can sign a form there that comes to us, and we can contact you and try to help you.
Let me ask you, you have activists in the field right now, don't you?
I do. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's get you back on the show some other time and maybe get one of those activists and we talk about those solutions, those that getting.
Sure. Absolutely.
I would love to do that. Will you be all right with that?
Sure.
All right, Tom. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you coming on. And we'll get you back on again because I'd love to talk about some type of solution because we're always bringing the gloom and the doom, but that's what we need. You know what I mean? That's
absolutely.
There is a way to
People need to hear the good stuff that we are achieving. They need hope. That is key to the fight back, is hope.
All right. Well, I got your website up there and I'll be promoting the heck out of it. Thank you, Tom.
I do appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And of course, I'm going to bring on Tim from Tom and Gigs. Tim, were you listening to that craziness? Oh my God. I can't believe this stuff.
I got in on the last minute. I wish I could have heard more. I was trying to listen on the radio, but it's too noisy out there. Darn it. But sounds like the guy's got something really going good there. Pretty awesome.
It's scary stuff because we're talking about depopulating the world. We're talking about controlling the weather, controlling the economy, taking everything away from the individual and putting it into the hands of the central planner who's going to plan our lives from cradle to grave. And it's, a lot of people don't believe it, but it is happening. We're watching it happen and they say that's what they want to do. So I don't know why we wouldn't take them at their word. And, Tom DeWeese he's been part of the he founded the American Policy Center going back to 1984. And I remember years and years ago, I probably discovered them in the early 90s, and they were talking about basically property rights and how that has morphed into Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 and stuff. And, people were saying, oh, they're just crazy. These people are crazy. Well, I don't think they're so crazy anymore.
No, because, you try to go in the woods anymore, and there's this little spot right in the middle of this big circle that you can go to. But you can only get there if you have probably a helicopter or something, right? You can't drive any road. They isolate you from getting to anywhere. And, of course, the roads are terrible for the wildlife because the deer don't use the roads, right? I think they're smarter than most. They probably use the roads more than they would want to jump over logs that are burnt down that they can't harvest.
Right.
But it's amazing. Agenda 21, I've known about that a long time. It really is true. People don't think it is until all of a sudden it happens. So you better start calling some people in charge here in this state, even though there's some of them we don't like very well. Let your opinion be known, because the more of us that call, that's our job as citizens, is to keep them on the hot seat, so to speak. If they don't, then what are they going to do? They're going to keep doing the same crap to us. But
they're our employees, right? They're our employees. So I don't give a damn if they like us or not. I'm going to call you up and tell you, do your damn job.
That's right. I was just listening to the news last night. Ted Nugent, he would just throwing flamers out there. It was great, man. That guy is awesome, and whether you like him or not, he's an American and he's a patriot, and he's like you or I, except he's really out there, and that'd be cool to get him on here for a couple minutes. That'd be awesome.
I have been trying to get the Nuge on the show when I first started the radio show, and for years I had back and forth with his I don't know what her title is. She's the one who schedules showings and stuff. And we may come to a point where I've got some friends of mine who are very well connected. We may have him come out here and do a concert.
That'd be sweet.
We're talking about that, and you'll be the first one I call because I'm a big Ted Nugent fan myself, and I saw him in Louisiana years and years ago.
Oh, cool. Lucky.
Well, they used to travel and go to all those arenas now. Now they're too old to travel. So
right. They do a little gig here or there, It's pretty cool though. It's pretty awesome. Hey, some big time people have been in this town, back in the day. I think Bill Haley and the Comets was in Coquille, I think, at one time, and when they were not even known, I think Elvis has even gone through town here, from what I've heard, before he was really famous. There's pretty cool stuff, but I just I'm kind of grossed out on Idaho. They're making 500,000 acres over there, from what I hear. They're not going to be able to let them farm. Where's the state give the authority to tell you what the hell you can grow on your land?
It's once again,
it's a joke.
They're creating a water shortage, from what I understand it. They're doing it through water allocations, if that's right.
Well, I hate to say what'll happen if you come and try to shut my water, tell me I can't plant corn or a potato patch in the ground. Boy, my grandparents would be rolling in the grave if they just knew what was going on now. And they would have been vocal. I remember my grandparents, they went through hard times, and that's what they're trying to make. It's like you're talking about, being dependent on them for everything. You shall own nothing and be happy. Yep. Go to where. But I like that Idaho bar though that did that heterosexual awesomeness day. That was totally awesome. That just set the lefties off like wildfire. That was great. And you know what LGBTQ stands for, don't you?
Yeah, I heard the joke. I can't remember now.
I got a shirt cover for you, brother. It's awesome. It's called "Let's Get Biden to Quit."
Yeah, let's get Biden to quit. I love it. Yes.
Oh God. I got our pride flag raised almost every day out front. It's called the Stars and Stripes. So you can take your rainbow and shove it up where the sun don't shine. I could really give a crap less. If I see one up, I probably light it on fire. Why not? It's flammable.
You don't have to worry about the city of Coos Bay putting one up. We took care of that. We made sure they were fixed.
The other thing I think that it was kind of irritating, and I don't know, of course, we don't earn as much of a time to live usual, but over in Bend, Oregon, you see the guy that was a kid with his, I think, 1 or 2 or 3-year-old son or daughter out in the front yard, and the guy come over and it was completely naked, exposed himself on his property. Yeah. Called the cops. Cops said they can't do nothing.
Yeah, I'd be cutting parts off.
I got to call the cops till after I found hey, there's some guys bleeding out here. I don't know what's going on.
I thought he was going to attack my child, and he ended up dead. And that's, that's where the point. I can't believe that we're having this discussion in schools where they're talking because there are schools up north who have what are they called? Unisex bathrooms. Bathrooms
one to girls and all that.
Yeah. And I'm thinking back in the day, my parents, you're going to get into a fist fight telling the boys they can go to the bathroom with the girls. That's just not happening.
Oh man, it's evil. Honestly, it's total evil, and it's total perverted garbage that these sickos are trying to do. All this drag queen garbage, God, it just absolutely makes you sick at your stomach. But ultimately, God's got control, and they'll be held accountable for their ill ways. Especially you're messing with God's children when they're little kids. You gotta. That'll be a bad day for somebody. But hopefully, we can right the ship.
This is what I never understood, Tim. Okay, if you and I put on shoe polish and walked around with blackface, they would say, "Oh, they're a bunch of racists because they got blackface." But yet, these men can put on these exaggerated makeup styles and costumes and wigs, pretending to be women. And yet that's not supposed to be offensive to women. They're supposed to go, oh, look, they're drag queens. And somehow this elevates them to the right to make fun of women, because to me, they look like they're making fun of women, because women don't really look like these drag queens.
Oh, absolutely. And, they're doing all this gyro crap in front of little kids with their junk in their trunk, which ought to be totally John Bobbitt, every single one of them. You want to be a woman? I'm going to turn you into one. You think that's what needs to be done. But on a higher note, what we're doing here is awesome. It's always fun to talk stuff because some people don't believe it. Just like chemtrails, man. I was watching planes go. We had nice blue sky the other day. All of a sudden, over the top of us, this big line of freaking crap through the sky, and it's just dispersing out. It's not a cloud. There are clouds, and that's true. And every plane doesn't have chemtrails, but it's true. It does. And they're putting crap in the air. It's not a conspiracy theory. That's just one little thing that they do. But look up in the sky sometimes, people. You'll see the stuff that's coming. And it's really sad what they're doing. But I like to say, hold them accountable somehow. Give them a call. Tell them what's going on. You can give us a call, too, if you got something going on with your truck. We can do a lot of cool stuff. Brad's working out great. Our new guy out here, he's really doing a great job. I'm very blessed to have him here so we can do more. We can get it done. And because we were on about a 2-week backlog, now it's a week-to-week thing. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, you weren't even able to get on the show. You were working so much. So yeah, give Brad a big pat on the back. We appreciate it.
He let me, he's giving me a little time. I was going to go on a big rant, but I kind of forgot what I was going to talk about. But
you started talking about drag queens and got all distracted.
Oh, yeah. No, it's crazy. I know exactly what to do with them, but give them all a knife and put them on an island and let them duke it out. Whoever comes out ahead, and then I don't know, figure out something. Same way with all the other folks. Get them out there, put them in the woods, get them clean up, slash and trash. Let them take their tent and their sleep bag, and they can be out there where nobody's going to bother them, and we ain't going to bother. They aren't going to bother anybody. And let them do some work to earn money. Quit giving them stuff. People that give stuff to other people, they don't appreciate it. I see it all the time out here, sleeping bags and clothes and shoes and crap everywhere, because it was just given to them. They could care. They just leave it wherever, and somebody else has got to clean up the mess. Kind of sad, but we do a ton of stuff here at the shop. Do a ton of alignments. I do a lot of exhaust work. About the only place left in town that really does anything extensive, I believe, but which is good for me. I love doing it, and it's great. And Josh is doing a great job selling parts and getting people in the right direction on certain things. There's like a tonneau cover. It's about 10 different people that make them. They all aren't the best. Some are like, I wouldn't buy them at all, but we can kind of give you clues on why you wouldn't want that particular one or whatever. And people so you come here for the knowledge, and that's what we try to do. If we don't do it, we'll tell you, So anyway, I do have a quote from old Thomas Jefferson. Said, the most sacred of the duties of a government is to do equal and impartial justice to all citizens. Kind of what Trump got, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They couldn't even define the charge until they sent them to the jury,
Yeah. It's just us, JUSTUS. That's just us. That's what it is. It's just them. We don't get justice unless we make it happen sometimes. And, the tree of liberty sometimes needs to be trimmed. So
needs to be watered with the blood of tyrants and patriots. Absolutely. So none of your business. You got a comment on here. You inspired a comment. Let me read it to you. I got it at the bottom of the screen there. It says,
boy.
Tim is spot on. People need to stop catering to perverts and degenerates and mentally deranged lunatics. And Tom and Gigs is the best auto shop in the country. County.
Well, thank you.
You only made the county. I'm sorry, but I think you're the best in the country. So, that's just my opinion.
Well, we try to do our best. That's for sure. That's what we count on. We're honest, God-fearing people. We all care about the jobs that come in. It's just like it was our own rig, and we're usually pretty picky. And we charge a fair price. We don't do it for free. We don't work cheap, but we do it good. And if you have a problem, we're here to take care of you. So that's another big thing is most places don't want to hear your complaints. Well, if you have a complaint, please say something. We want to hear it so we can take care of it. And that makes a big difference if you're going to be in business for very long, at least, especially in this town, because everybody knows everybody, right? But we got to get rid of all this perverted garbage. You can't put up with it in the schools or anywhere else. Call people out on it. Who cares? I mean, if you got to get in their face, don't tolerate that crap. That's the problem. Tolerance is bullcrap, because somebody's doing something to you, cause you grief. You can't allow that to keep doing it. It's just not right. It's bullying. And so we're got to not let that happen. Anyway, I appreciate you, brother, and good to be on. And we'll let you go. 541-888-4660 is the phone number out here, and 135 South Shoneman, Coos Bay. And I guess keep up the good work. And next time I'll be ready with some crank up stuff. We'll do it Nugent style.
All right. I love it.
We'll do some ass kicking, flame throwing, you know what. So
there you go. There you go.
Appreciate
All
everybody being on. Give Rob kudos. He's the man for standing up for us. He's got a big voice, and keep him on and keep him going and give him support. Talk to you guys later.
Take care, Tim.
See you, bud.
All right. It's always good to talk to that man. It's always good to talk to that man, because he gets it. He gets what's happening. And I appreciate people like Tim, because, one reason is because he's a sponsor of mine. And all the sponsors that I have, from Matt Holman, who is on 3H Tree Service, to Herbal Choices, to Tom and Gigs, all of them we're the same like-minded people. There's a lot of us here. There's probably more of us than there are the crazy leftists in this county, at least in this county. And hopefully someday we can change the world, and there will be more of us who think like us and less of the crazies out there, the mentally ill guys who want to cut off their wieners. Okay, if you're a guy who wants to cut off your wiener, you're mentally ill. And, I know that I risk getting cut off of Facebook or of YouTube just for making that statement. That statement alone can get me removed from those two media platforms. And I'm on both of those media platforms right now. And so I'm just, what can I say? I'm not going to put up with the bullshit. It's just not something that's worthwhile. And if you were watching my guest, Tom Weiss from American Policy Center, I want to add to the stage here. This is his website. His website is at, let's see, I got it here. Oh, I just had it. Where is it today? AmericanPolicy.org. AmericanPolicy.org. If you want to find out more about American policy, I highly recommend you go check out their website. Like I said, this is someone who's been very active, and I'm talking about Tom DeWeese. He is of the American Policy Center, and AmericanPolicy.org is where you can find him. He writes incredible articles, and I believe if you go on here, you can find articles going back 10, 15 years on this website. And there's a lot of stuff that you can do. There are projects that you can get involved with, the Freedom Pods, the Catching the Fire News, all of this stuff to keep informed, issues talking about sustainable development, education, elections, activism, property rights, and other issues. And when I first started getting involved with American Policy Center, it was property rights. We were just talking about property rights. But when it comes down to it, isn't everything about property rights? If you think about it, everything is really about your right to own property and your right to do what you want with that property. And they're taking that ability away from you. Look what they're doing to the farmers and the ranchers. Tim alluded to it when he was talking. There are other states, not just Oregon, who's trying to eliminate the family farm and family ranches. And I forget the percentage. It's a really low percentage of Americans who are actual farmers and ranchers out there. And I would highly recommend, if you're someone who owns a little bit of property, you might want to consider doing farming or ranching. You might want to consider developing your own food. And because this sustainability crap, it's not going to last. That's the funny thing about sustainability. Sustainability is not something that is applicable to life. And I'll tell you why. No matter how much you plan, no matter how sustainable, or as you know, some people, it's sustainable, they say it so much. no matter how sustainable you think you have planned out anything, no matter how much you think that you can continue a cycle and still get the same results over and over again because you've planned so successful, well, that's not how life works, because everything comes to its natural conclusions. And in government always makes promises. They can never fulfill a lot of those promises, then they a lot of times don't. But when it comes to sustainability, government fails on delivering those promises because sustainability, it's a fraud, it's a falsehood, I should say. It's a sham. And the reason being is that, have you ever heard this term? Adapt or die. They don't tell you to sustain or die. Sustainability isn't about living. You can plan to be as sustainable as you want, but the fact is that something can happen and screw up your plan. That's the problem with central planners. They can't plan for everyone, and they don't know everything that's going to happen in the future so that they can make the best plan possible. They can try, but they usually fail. And what they do when they achieve their plan is basically take more authority from the individual so that the individual, you and me, can plan for our own damn lives. And that's what we should be doing. We should be the deciders of our life. We are the ones who should be able to decide what we're going to do with our property, how we're going to make a living. This should be all up to the individual, not some central planner who's trying to work on sustainability. And they put that word in everywhere. And I don't know, I hear people use it and I don't even think they know what it means. But sustainability, that's not what life is based on. Life is based on adaptability. Those of us who can adapt the best to any situation that's going to occur in the future, those are the ones who survive. Sustainability, like I said, everything comes to its natural conclusion. This podcast, this world, the universe, everything comes to its natural conclusion. It will happen, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not even next week, but eventually it will happen. And so you can plan your life as much as you want, but you have to be adaptable. And so it's not about sustainability, it's about adaptability. And that's something I learned studying a lot of the writings coming from Tom DeWeese and the American Policy Center. And, we were talking about the 17 goals from the United Nations. Let's see if I can share that tab real quick here. And of course, there it is. The United Nations, the 17 goals. Now, these are the 17 goals of sustainability development. Sustainability, there it is, that word again. This is the Department of Economic and Social Affairs. I don't know why those two departments should be together. In fact, I don't even know why social affairs should even exist. I'm not even sure why the Department of Economics in the United Nations should exist. But then again, I'm not sure why the United Nations should exist. We need to get out of the United Nations. We pay for most of it. It's nonsense. And it's one of those things that is based on consensus. The whole entire leadership and all their decisions is based on some type of consensus, when the fact is that most people don't think like Americans. Most people come from dictatorships or totalitarian governments that are ran by oligarchies, and they don't know the American way. And yet we're allowing this organization that gets their consensus from those people who live in other countries and tells us what policies we will live by. And these are the 17 goals: 169 targets, 3,945 events, 1,348 publications, 7,851 actions. Oh boy, I can only imagine what there is. Goal 4. Goal 1 is no poverty. End poverty in all its forms everywhere. Okay, right there, that's an impossible goal. This is one of the 17 goals of sustainable development. This is one of the 17 goals that they have, and they think that they're going to end poverty. Zero hunger, end hunger. Well, I think I know how they're going to end hunger. It says end hunger, achieve food security and improve nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture. Well, how can you promote sustainable agriculture? Do you know when the next farm is going to be hit by a tornado or a storm or a hurricane or fire or any food processing plants? How can you plan? All you can be is try to make the best plan for all those contingencies that could happen to you. But once again, it comes down to adaptability. So I don't know how this first goal of ending poverty, never going to happen. Then the second goal of achieving food security, it does not exist. We have to become adaptable every single second when it comes to food. That's just the way humans are. You got to be able to learn how to get your food when you need that food. And right now, when them talking about food security, I don't know if you remember COVID and all those empty shelves. How secure did you feel? Not too well. Number 3 is ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. Well, they already failed with me. Yeah, I mean that plantar fasciitis on my feet. I don't know. That's they really failed with me. So I'm not living the healthiest of lives, and I don't know how they can promise this, especially to people who are living in the pictures that you see there on the screen of the folks in the third world country. I just don't think that's happening there as well. Quality education. Well, they already failed in Oregon. Oregon doesn't provide quality education. And of course, here's the goal 4: ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Well, first off, that last sentence, promote lifelong learning opportunities. Life is an educator. Like, they're doing something because you're going to learn as you go along. Life teaches you a lot of lessons. There's a lot of consequences for a lot of bad decisions and a lot of consequences for things that just happen in life. And you're going to learn from that. I guarantee you, at my age, I can promise you that. But here's the first part of this goal: ensure inclusive and equitable quality education. Well, what they've done in Oregon, they've included every child that goes to public schools, and they've made them equally stupid. That is their inclusive and equitable quality education. They have made every single public school student equally stupid. It's unfortunate. It's very sad. And, well, maybe I shouldn't use the word stupid. They've made them all ignorant. They're all completely ignorant of how the world really works because they taught them all this sustainable development crap. But they really don't know how the world works. And so they tried to say that they're going to ensure inclusiveness because they want every child to be just as ignorant as every other child. And that's their equitable quality education. So in many ways, I guess they did achieve goal 4 if making everyone equally ignorant is something you want to do. Gender equality, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. Well, okay, first off, if women and girls want to empower themselves, they have to do it themselves. And if you want gender equality, you got to go out and do exactly the same thing that every other person, including men, do. And that's go out there and get a good education, do really hard work, and then you will get paid and you will achieve just as much as anyone else who goes out there and works real hard for those goals. That's how women and girls become more equal. They got to behave equally and not equitably. That equitably thing didn't work for the Oregon schools, did it? 6, ensure availability and sustainable management of water, sanitation for all. Well, okay, once again, they don't have to provide water because nature or God already did it for us. Yes, 2/3 of the planet is made up of water. We got plenty of water on this planet. So when these idiots tell you that they've got to manage water, that means that they're going to control the water sources and make it so that some people will receive the water and some people won't receive the water based on whether they like you or not. I know that sounds kind of cruel, but that's the way these totalitarian control freaks work. They don't like you, you don't get water. And sanitation for all, well, if you don't have water, there's not going to be too much sanitary situation going on there. So yeah, the whole water management thing, we got plenty of water. Just allow people to use what they need, and we'll be just fine. It doesn't go anywhere. It just circulates. It keeps circulating in the environment, and water, comes and goes, old water and new. We don't really need these people telling us what they want to do with the water, because they want to control it, and control is an illusion. Affordable and clean energy. Well, they failed on that. Ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. Well, yeah, they want to put windmills and solar panels all over the place and fail at providing energy and make us all, once again, equitable. It's all about equity. And we're going to all be sitting in the cold, freezing in the middle of winter. Why? Because turbines and solar panels don't work in the middle of winter, and that's what they're going to call a success. Let's see, number 8. Let's see, what was that? Decent work and economic growth. Okay, how can they promise this? Unless you're planning on hiring a whole bunch of people and paying them money for doing some kind of work, then how can you guarantee that there's going to be jobs out there? That, once again, these are just unattainable goals that are being pushed by the UN. Promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full of productive employment and decent work for all. What, they must think they're God. These people really must think they're God. I mean, I just can't believe, I haven't even gone through all 17. 9 is industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. Okay. Once again, they try to take credit for what people do naturally. People are either innovative or they're not innovative. Nobody needs to foster it. It's just something that actually happens. And you know why it happens? Usually because of a necessity. Necessity is the mother of invention. And that's because people, when they need something, it's amazing how innovative they will get. Reduced inequality within and among countries. Oh, well, I'll tell you what, when the rest of the world catches up to America by passing a constitution the way our founders passed a constitution based on individual rights and limited government, of course, we've kind of failed at that as well, because government is unlimited and our rights are, well, being restricted at every level. So, goal 10, once again, is a bunch of nonsense. Goal 11 is sustainable cities and communities. Make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Once again, who are these central planners to tell us what we are going to do with our settlements, human settlements? Yeah. I live in Bandon. It's not a settlement, and it's not a community. It's part of society, because I live in Bandon. It's a city inside a county, inside a state, inside a beautiful nation. And we don't need people from the UN telling us what to do and how to do our cities. Number 12, responsible consumption and production. Yes, ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. In other words, this is a communist goal. Most of these are Marxist ideas, but this one really gets to the heart of communism, because they want to control supply and demand. They want to be, this is like the water. They want to control who gets certain resources and who don't get certain resources. And they want to control this by controlling the supply and then being able to control the demand of whatever supply they do or don't have. And this is something that can only really be taken care of by the free market, because the free market has indicators telling farmers, ranchers, and all these other producers that produce products and provide services that we all need. There are indicators in the free market that the central planners could never pick up, but the market picks it up because the market is always responsive. Planners, they're just reacting and trying to plan for that sustainability, sustainable development. And like I said, because the world is unpredictable, because life is unpredictable, you have to be adaptable. And that's what the free market is all about, being adaptable. So goal number 12, that's a bunch of commie bullshit if I've ever heard it. Climate action. Take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. Okay, once again, we don't know how the climate's going to change. We don't know when it's going to change. We don't know what impacts are going to happen. So, yeah, good luck planning that. Life below water. Yes, conserve and sustainable use the oceans. Wait, let me read that. Conserve and sustainable use the oceans. Sustainably use the oceans. Okay, sorry, I was reading that wrong. Conserve and sustainably use the ocean, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. Yeah, once again, we don't know what's going to happen in the oceans. We don't know what's going to happen with the world. The world, we are a bunch of furry animals on a spinning rock that is orbiting a fireball, folks. Okay, if the axis of the earth changes just a minute amount, all of the ocean can burn up. You know what I mean? So once again, we can try to plan as much as we want, but we don't know what the future holds for us. Adaptability, not sustainability. Life on land, protect, restore. Whoops, I actually clicked that. I should have done that. Protect, restore, promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably managed forests, combat desertification, and halt the reserve land degradation and halt biodiversity loss. Ay. Boy, there's so much in that. Once again, this is them trying to control Mother Nature. And Mother Nature, she's an uncontrollable wench. I don't know why they're trying to do that. You can do as much as you can to protect forests. You can try to make sure that areas don't become deserts. But if they're controlling the water, they're the ones who are going to get to decide which areas are going to become deserts and not. This is, once again, this is just fluff. 16. This is one of the 16 of the 17 goals. Peace, justice, and strong institution. Promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable developments. Provide access to justice for all and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. Well, if they're talking about equality, I'm all in. If they're talking about equity, yeah, you can forget about it. And when they talk about accountable and inclusive institutions, well, I'd like to have accountable and inclusive institutions, but we're not all included. We have a justice system in America, and many of us are disfranchised and just don't have enough money to get the justice system to work for us as well as it works for others. And then some people have too much power and too much money, like Trump, who they have to use the justice system as a weapon, and that way they can destroy one of the wealthiest, most powerful men in America. So yeah, peace, justice, and the strong institutions. Yeah, good luck with that. And what was their 17th goal? Partnerships for the goals. Oh, well, if you're going to have 17 goals, you definitely want to have partners for your 70 goals. Strengthen the means of implementation and revitalization of global partnership for sustainable development. Yeah, that's all the cities and the counties who buy into this bullshit. Don't buy into it. It's a bunch of crapola. And I thought, most people have never seen the 17 goals of sustainable development. This is from the UN. This is part of Agenda 2030, which was originally Agenda 2021 or Agenda 21. And, it's just a bunch of hogwash. So don't buy into that garbage. Please don't buy into it. It's a bunch of nonsense. And so that's why places like the American Policy Center, americapolicy.org, if you want to go check them out, they're the ones who's fighting against those 17 goals. We want people to plan out their own life. We want you to live your own life, and we want you to have as much access or lack of access as the market will or won't provide. But we're talking about the free market. And we believe that the more people who demand something, there's always someone who can make money off of delivering those products or delivering those services. They're going to make money. That's what they want to do. And somehow, because of the free market, they're going to collaborate with the people they need to collaborate with to bring you those services and products. It's happening. It happens right now. I mean, right now, you think of anything you need, and if you got the money to go get it, you can pretty much go get it. That's pretty much how the free market works. If you consider this free market, it's very too manipulated, too authorized by the government to be an actual free market, but it's the best we got right now. And the more they push this sustainable development on us, the less free the market's going to be. And That's because they don't like adaptability. Adaptability to people who talk about sustainability, adaptability is like the wild child in the family, is the one who's going to do their own thing and make their own way. Well, we can't have that. No, we got to get a leash on that child, and we got to make sure that they live by the plans that we set out for their life. I never raised my child that way. I told my child, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to have to live your life. You're going to have to make your own decisions. And those are the consequences, good or bad, that you'll have to live with. But I want you to have the freest and best life you can. And the only way to have the best life you can is for you to choose what's best for you. I don't know what's best for my kid now that he's an adult and grown up. I don't know what's best for my grandchild. I mean, she's under 18. I know what's best for her as far as brushing her teeth and eating her vegetables. But after she's 18, she has to decide what's best for her life. And every one of you out there, you're living with the same rights as the rest of us to go out there and make the best of your life. And sustainable development, that is the antithesis of being able to live the life that you choose. And so I don't know, maybe I'm rambling here. What can I say? It's one of those subjects that I find near and dear to my heart. Let's see. Let's take this down. I just wanted to let everyone know we have a winner for the Where's 3H Tree Service. We had a winner, and I actually had a picture of last week's winner. Here's a picture of last week's winner. Right there. Yes, there she is. I didn't get her name, but she's standing there with one of the Holman boys who works for Holman men who work for 3H Tree Service, 3H, which stands for 3 Holmans. And one of the Holman men standing there with the winner to last week's game. Hopefully next week we'll have a whole new picture and we'll be playing a whole new game. But just to let you all know, if you're driving around Lakeside still looking for 3H Tree Service, you can stop now because we already have a winner. And that probably happened like 20 minutes ago and I didn't even announce it. So I'm announcing it now. Let's see. I got a comment here, but before I get to the comment, let's get some music going. Okay. Yeah. Let's play some of that music. Yeah. Love that music. All right. So, as you know, at that time of the show, I'm going to read a comment here. Let's see, I got a comment from None Ya Business. I love that None Ya Business. What a heck of a person out there. Property rights are essential to freedom. There is no freedom without property ownership. And our rules know this. Our rulers know this. They want to own everything and you nothing. That's exactly what they do. They're the rulers. And there's a lot of people out there, they think they're rulers. They're not rulers. They're not rulers at all. And, I don't know what to tell you, but you're absolutely right. None of your business. You're absolutely right. 100% right. And let's see. I want to announce my sponsors. My sponsors, 3H Tree Service. If you want to get a hold of them, you need to call 541-294-1800 and talk to Matt Holman. Matt Holman can fill you up with all kinds of information about what 3H Tree Service does, what they can and can't do for you. They'll come out to your house. They'll remove those trees with surgical precision. If you want to go see how badass these dudes are, go look at today's video, which you can find at my Facebook page, Rob Taylor Report. Go to Facebook, just type in Rob Taylor Report. It will pop up. And go look at the video. It's the first or second video. That is a really cool video showing them taking down those trees without tearing up those fences or the house that was next to it. I mean, these guys do an exceptional job. I would highly recommend them if you need to take out some trees. Call 3H Tree Service, 541-294-1800. And of course, we talked to Tim from Tom and Gigs. Tim from Tom and Gigs, he can take care of all those automotive needs that you have at 135 South Stoneman Street. And this is in Tuesday, Oregon. They're kind of across from the Devereaux Center, but not quite. It's like catty corner from the Devereaux Center. They're behind the car wash place right there in Empire. So if you need to get your car worked on, this is the place to go. I mean, Tim from Tom and Gigs, he's an honest man. He'll tell you what's happening. You know, he'll usually, if he's working on your car, he'll bring you out to show you what's going on with your car. A lot of places don't do that anymore. You know, that's how my father used to run his automotive business. You know, he would bring people back into the shop and say, look, this is what's going on with your car. This is the problem right here. He'll show them, the part that's not, and then he would tell you, how much it's going to cost, and he would take care of fixing that. But if you need your car fixed, go to Tom and Gigs. I highly recommend it. Herbal Choices. Herbal Choices, if you need cannabis, you need a bong or a pipe or anything such like that. You need some edibles, they got them at Herbal Choices. I would highly recommend them over any of the competitors. Don't go to Lamoda, because you don't want to give money to Lamoda because they're going to pay off a bunch of Democrats. You don't want to give anyone to that Lamoda money. No, you want to give it to a good Herbal Choices business. Go to Herbal Choices. And there's 5 different stores in the area. There's 4 in the county and 1 in Douglas County in Reedsport. There's 1 in the southbound lane coming out of North Bend on 101. There's 1 in northbound lane, 1 downtown Coos Bay on 101. There's Boston, there in and I'll tell you what, it is close to protein. When I have that craving, and then I go there and I use the product, and I get even more craving. Get the Doritos. It's a wonderful thing. You don't want to go on that diet. But also, I want to recommend you check out Oregon Firearms Federation. Oregon Firearms Federation has been doing business since the mid-'90s, and their business is taking care of your rights. Your rights. They're a nonprofit organization. You can give to Oregon Firearms Federation. Go to their website. It will explain to you everything that they do. They're fighting for your Second Amendment rights. They're in the court right now, still fighting against Measure 114. Isn't that crazy? After all this time, they're still fighting against Measure 114. You think that campaign would be dead by now? No. It's going to take every little drop of money that they can get from Second Amendment supporters. So if you got a little extra cash, I highly recommend you give it to OFF or Oregon Firearms Federation. And it's OregonFirearms.org. You can check them out on their website. And they're not my sponsors, but I always like to promote them. The Band and Gun Club, thebandandgunclub.org is where they can be reached at. And if you want to go out and practice with your pistol or with your shotgun, you got a trap shotgun, I highly recommend it. A 5-stand trap shoot out there. And new members are welcome, just like the sign says. bandandgunclub.org. If you got a rifle and you need to sight in that rifle, go to the Tioga Sports Park, tiogasportspark.org, tiogasportspark.org, and they'll tell you if they're open or not, because, they're open based on whether the weather is good or it's not good. If it's not good, it's probably not going to be open. That's why you need to go find out, tiogasportspark.org. I wonder who won that bowling pin shootout. I don't know who did that. It'd be interesting to find out. Let's see, did we have any meetings happening? Oh, yep. We have a windmill rally. And this would be really cool if I could get all you people to show up to these windmill rallies. We still got a few of the windmill signs left. We've got some on order. I don't know if they'll be done by the time this rally happens or not. But we got new windmill signs on order, and we still got a few left that we can hand out. But with every sign that we've been handing out, I've been giving people a flag to wave. So it's really cool. So when you come down and you see our Stop the Windmills rally, you'll see a whole bunch of American flags up there. It's really cool. We're very patriotic. And we hate these windmills because who do the windmills benefit? They benefit China. And we don't want to benefit the commies in China. And remember, when we talk about the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, we're not talking about the Chinese people. We're talking about the Chinese government and the Chinese communists. Completely two different entities. You have the Chinese people, most of them are oppressed. They probably hate the communists in China just as much as we hate the communists in China. So I just want you to know, we talk about the communists in China and we want to get rid of China. We're talking about the Communist Party and communism itself. And these windmills projects are nothing but they're a boondoggle project designed to destroy our energy grid. They're really trying to destroy our ability to have secure energy. And once again, that's not based on sustainability. That's based on adaptability, because if you try to do something just by force because you think it's sustainable, you're going to find out that it doesn't adapt to what and how you're really living your life. And we use a lot of energy in this country, and the windmills are just not going to provide it. The solar panels are just not going to provide that energy. So come out, high noon, Saturday, June 15th. That's this Saturday in Gold Beach in front of the courthouse. High noon in front of the Gold Beach courthouse on Highway 101. Then at 2 o'clock, we stop the first rally at 1:30. We head down to Brookings, and then at 2 o'clock, you'll find us at 711 Chetco Avenue. That's near downtown Brookings, and we get a lot of traffic there. We had a lot of good responses the last time we went there. We were there on Memorial Day. And I don't know, it's a Saturday, and I may actually do a live broadcast from the area, because I thought it was so fun to do a live broadcast on Memorial Day, and I think it's good for people to see what we're doing out there. We're not burning any federal buildings. We're not taking anyone hostage. We're not screaming in the streets to kill the Jews. We like the Jews if the Jews don't like the windmills. You know, we don't have a problem with that. We don't like those crazy Jewish cabal leaders. You know, the ones you hear about in the conspiracy theories. All the ones who are planning the death of all the people in the world. Yeah, I don't even know if those Jews exist. I don't even know if those are Jewish people. But the crazy radical leftists that are supporting Hamas, who are supporting the Palestinians, well, they're a little loopy, and I don't agree with their going around telling people to kill the Jews. I don't know what that really has to do with the Stop the Windmills rally, but if you want to join us, high noon, this Saturday, June 15th, Gold Beach, County Courthouse on Highway 101. Then we're going to move down to Brookings at 2 o'clock. And if you want to find out more about this, go to our Facebook page, Oregonians Against Wind Turbines. That's Oregonians Against Wind Turbines. I'm going to be having another show this Friday. Of course, we're going to have the Friday night rant, because that's what I do. I do a lot of ranting. And I'm not sure. I think we're going to be doing this show. We're going to do one of those panel shows where I'm going to have 3 or 4 guests on, and I think we're going to be talking about a situation that's happening in Douglas County local government. I think that's what we're going to do. We've been kind of bantering back and forth of how we want to present it, but I think if we get it down by Friday, that's what we're going to do at the Friday night rant. We're going to be talking about the local government in Douglas County, because you wouldn't believe what some of the shit that's going on in Douglas County. It's like, what the hell's going on there, Douglas County? What's going on, man? But you got to watch the people who are in charge of the money, who are in charge of the regulations, who have the authority in the government. You got to watch these people. They're not all trustworthy. Not all, even the Republicans. You got to watch them all. I don't care if they're Democrat or Republicans. If they're politicians, and they need to be watched. For the same reason that you want to watch anyone who's taking care of the most important things in your life. It's just the way things are. So I'll be back on Friday to do a Friday night rant. And then, of course, next week on Monday's show. And I don't know who the guest is going to be. We'll see. Tune in. Keep checking out. Check me out at robtaylorreport.com. And if you would, do me a favor. If you're watching this on YouTube or you're watching this on Rumble, give me a like. Give me a share. And if you're not a subscriber, subscribe to my channel. I would much appreciate it. This is something you can go back. Last Friday, If you didn't see last Friday's rant, go to Rumble, go to YouTube, and check out Friday night's rant from this past Friday. It was quite interesting. It tied in quite well with today's show with Tom DeWeese and the American Policy Center. It tied in really well with that, and I think it's one of those good things to educate yourself on some of this stuff. And a lot of people already know this, but it's good to get a review on it as well. But if you want to find out what I'm doing, go to robtaylorreport.com. That's my website, robtaylorreport.com. Like, share, and subscribe my YouTube page and my Rumble page. I do appreciate it much. And until next week, until Friday night, when I see you guys on Friday night, you know what I always say? Carry on, America. Carry on.